All right, in the last video, we created our last section on the main page called the activity section. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that these buttons up at the top actually work. And if you go over them, yes, the hover state works. It changes. It looks like a button. It acts like a button, but you can't actually do anything. They don't go anywhere. And if you look in the index HTML section here, they are just list items. They're not actually buttons yet. So of course there's nothing that's going to happen when we actually click any of them. And so what we're going to do to make a button work is we're going to go to the item in the list here that we want to turn into a button. And for this to work, we're going to use a tag that is called A, which stands for anchor. And we're going to put href, which stands for hyperlink reference, equals, and then in quotations, we're going to give the name of the file we want it to link to. So for the contact form, we actually want it to go to a separate file. We're going to call it contact.html, and we're going to close that with a quotation and then close our tag. And then we're going to take this closing A tag that we got from that. We're going to cut that out of there. And we're going to paste that after the word contact. And we're going to save that. You notice after we do that, it turns blue. All right. It now is a button that we could click. And you'll see that when I go over it with my mouse, the mouse actually turns into a little pointer hand. And if I click it, it says cannot get the contact HTML. There is no contact HTML for it to go to. All right. I'm just going to delete something because I had done this before. And if you look, I had actually misspelled contact in the first place. It should be contact, not conact. I'm going to save that. But regardless of when we go there, it's going to say it cannot get that file. Okay. One thing I want to mention is once you start adding anchors, sometimes you have to hit the refresh button up here for things to load, especially if you're going to a different page. So if I click that, you'll see that it doesn't work. I have to refresh it. It's still not there, obviously, because this file doesn't exist. All right. So how do we make a new file? Well, there's a couple ways we can do it. We could copy and paste this existing file, which in my opinion, it's more work to clean it up. I would rather go here on the left side and make a new file just by clicking up here. And we're going to call it contact.html, and we're going to hit return. And right now there's absolutely nothing in there. So if you remember from way back, if we type HTML and then we go to 5, it will fill in the boilerplate code. And if we save that right now, this page has nothing in it whatsoever. Obviously, it's just a blank document. But the most important part, if we want to keep all the fonts and everything the same as our index file, we need all of the style sheet information. So we're going to go to our index, and we're going to steal this entire head section, the header section. We're going to copy that, and we're going to paste that up here. Like that, okay? So everything now within this contact page has the same style sheets that we were using previously, which will allow us to share some of those library classes that we had used before, not libraries. And so now if we go here and we sort of do the same thing, save and click this, the button will work, but it's going to take us to a blank page because there's nothing in that page yet. It is basically just a blank page. There's nothing there. So we'll just head back. Now, again, important to refresh when you're doing this because for whatever reason, it seems to lose its, I don't know if it's the live server plugin that seems to lose its connection when you add a link. I'm not really sure. But I always do this too. I say open with live server again so that it knows that it's linked up. Now, one thing you're going to notice that looks really bad is the button itself is like, it starts blue and then it goes purple. It just looks horrible. It's underlined. You can't read it. So why don't we fix that up right now? That's a pretty easy thing to fix. We'll go into style. We'll scroll up to the top. this should be something probably near the top because it's going to affect every link on the page. We're going to do A, which is the tag that we used, anchor. And to remove those, the underlining and stuff from, we're going to go text decoration is none. What text decoration will actually let you do, I'll just show you. You can add all sorts of effects to the text. You could have wavy text, underline text, all sorts of text, dash text, dot, all sorts of stuff. We want to get rid of that. We don't want the underlining that's on there. We're going to save that, and you'll notice that the underline disappears. We also want the link to be white, so we're going to go color, white, save that. Now the contact is white again. But it will still function as a button, even though it doesn't look like it. Okay, so that's great. That's going to fix that up. Now, that button now works. Let's say we want to have buttons that take us to different sections within the same page that we are on. That is very useful, especially if you're building a page, a website that's only one page. You know, it's only a one-pager. It doesn't have multiple pages. A lot of times, especially nowadays, people will build websites that are only a single page, and they will have buttons that jump to certain parts within the page. So let's say we wanted the home page to take us to this area, this whole sort of page we see. The about will take us to nature is calling, and the activities will take us to local activities. Okay, that makes sense to me. What we're going to do for that is we're going to use page anchors. And page anchors is another way of linking websites to different parts on a page or on multiple pages. In this case, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our index. And we're going to find the part of the page where we want it to jump to. So for the home, right above the hero class, because that's really where it should go, we are going to do this. We're going to put an A anchor with an H, sorry, not an href in this case. We're going to do an ID. Okay, I'm going to explain what an ID is in a second, but we're going to put equals. Let's give it a name. We're going to say home. Okay, that's what this part is, and we're going to close that off. Don't worry about the A tag. It doesn't need anything in between it, but it still needs to end. Okay, so that is set. Now let's scroll down. Let's go to the about section. We're going to do the same thing. This time we're going to do A ID equals about. And same thing. And then we're going to go down to the activity section. And we're going to do the same thing. A ID equals, and this time it's going to say activities. Now, if you're like me and you make lots of spelling mistakes, it's very important to double check to make sure that these match when we link them up. Okay, so we got these three anchors that are within the page with different names, okay? And we're using ID for that. Probably could have used class as well, I'm not sure, but IDs always work. That's why I use them. Okay, and that gives us those three sections that we don't have yet. And I'm going to show you how to link them up. So activities, we'll do that one first. We're going to go into activities, and same as we did with contact, we're going to do an A tag, href equals, but this time what we're going to put is index.html, which is the name of the file we're on. And to go to an anchor, we use the pound symbol, which is above the 3 on your keyboard, and the name of the anchor. So the first one is home. And I can see that I think I made a mistake on home. Close it and put the A tag around your word. All right. Okay. No, home is good. Okay. What that's going to do is it's going to, oh, and I didn't, no, see, I knew I would screw up. It was supposed to be activities because that's what we're linking to is activities. So what that's going to do is going to look for the anchor on the page and it's going to jump to it. And so if we save that and we test it, when I click activities, it's going to jump down to activities as close as it can get. Like if there's not enough room on the page, it won't be able to reach it, but it'll get as close as it can. Okay, if you have a really long page, it's going to be able to do it no problem. What we can do is we can take this, or we can retype it. Either way, href equals index.html # about now. and take this closing A, put that there, save it, test it. Yep, it takes us to Nature is Calling. And by the way, it'll always do this where if you have an overlapping, because we have the overlapping nav bar, it is lining up perfectly to the top of the page, but because we have that nav bar, it's going to jump and line it up to the top of the page, but it looks like it's kind of cut off because of the nav bar. So we could adjust that with margin and stuff after, but you know what, for now it's working just fine. And then our home, what we could do for home is we don't necessarily need to use the anchor for this. We could just do href equals index.html, because basically it's just loading that page. However, if you don't want it to reload the page every time, then you can use home, which is the one that we created. And I forgot to close it with a quotation, and close your A tag here. Okay, like that. And now everything's going to work. Okay, everything's going to work. You're going to be able to go to the other page, which doesn't exist yet. And all of your pages are linked up beautifully. It's looking really good. Okay, so excellent. In the next video, we are going to make our contact form, and we are getting close to finishing this basic website. The last thing to do afterwards will be to make a mobile version, which we'll get into as well, and some simple animations if you want to add those too. But anyways, it's coming along nicely, so save what you're doing and continue on with me in the next one.